What's up, Chiefs Kingdom? You're on another episode of Chiefs Focus Live. JP, Quentin, Caleb, we're all here. We're all ready to talk about some crazy crap going on Twitter right now. What's up, guys?
Doing pretty good. How are you guys doing?
Good. I want to talk about what happened at Chiefs rookie minicamp when Andy Reid was asked about this new left tackle we signed, because it changes the whole dynamic of the offensive line. So
let's start off with it.
Yeah, so the Andy Reid said that Donovan Smith is going to be the Chiefs left tackle.
Yeah.
Okay.
He confirmed that and said that he's going to take reps with the ones. So this completely changes the dynamic of what we thought the offensive line was going to be. We thought that it was going to be Taylor was going to play that left tackle spot and Smith was going to be your more for rotational piece. But now we know that, the guys they signed at their position, they're going to play that spot. So just, what are your guys' initial thoughts? And I'll get to mine here in a minute.
I don't want to real quick. I don't want to toot our own horn, but we said this last week. That's what we were told, that's how it was going to go down. And that's actually how it's going down. Andy just confirmed what we already knew. We talked about this last week on one of our shows. Don't remember which one it was, but that's exactly what we talked about. Anyway, go ahead, Caleb. Spit it out.
Good, man. We're good. No, I agree. I think it's going to work out. The way you look at it as a whole, these guys we're bringing in, you're putting veterans ahead of them so you can let like a Wandering Morris develop or let these other guys develop. So you don't have to just rush them out there. And if they oversee expectations, great, then throw them out there. But it's a good system and a plan in place so we don't have to deal with the issues that were there beforehand of having the offensive line considerable. You have good veterans there at the start, and you have some quality backups that are ready to go. It's like every time when you have that built into place, it makes it better. So it's kind of like a general building an army. You want to make sure you have reserves and things prepared. If you don't have reserves, then you're going to lose the battle. And the Chiefs, specifically Andy Reid, and them are trying to figure out with the offensive line, who are our starters and who are our second and third stringer guys we're going to need, who we believe who can step in and fill the gap. I think they've done a really good job specifically on the tackle side of things, trying to figure out that. The interior, you can plug and play a little bit, but with the tackles, it's kind of helped there from that standpoint.
I agree. The one thing I will say is that you can't really replace depth, and you can't have enough of it. And that's what he's going for. He's going for the depth. And if you have a guy that you're putting in that position, you're going to try him out. He's already in that position. He's already played that position. We already know that. So he was brought in for a reason. And everybody said, well, why did we pay a right tackle $80 million? That's not what you did. You paid a very versatile player $80 million that can play 3 different spots. And just think about it from this perspective. Joe Thuney may not be here next year. And if you think he can't play that position, you're wrong, because he can. So that is something that should just be almost a given with this team, and the way they're going towards more versatile players that can play multiple positions and having depth. We learned our lesson without having depth. Now we have it. So I think it's a balance. I think it's a great balance, actually. Quentin?
Well, I think that, this is interesting to me. When I heard this press conference, it really piqued my interest for a lot of reasons. I'm going to try and simplify some of my thoughts here because I have a lot of them. I think the first thing is that if this was happening in another city, let's say this was the information coming out of Cleveland or Las Vegas, pick a bunch of different NFL cities, I think that we would be asking some serious questions about what the hell the GM is doing. You spend $80 million on a guy in free agency and said, hey, this is going to be our left tackle. We like how versatile he is. We want him to play left tackle. Then you go through the draft and you draft a third string or a guy in the fourth round that, played some left tackle, played a little bit of right tackle. Generally speaking, it's more of a depth piece / developmental guy. We've done this before, not a big deal. Let's move on. Then a couple of days after the draft, you end up signing a guy that has, while in his career has been a decent left tackle, last year only played 13 games, had a ton of injuries, and had some reportedly off the field issues, not legal issues, like personal life issues. Today, I heard that from a guy down in Tampa Bay who covers the team, that he's had some sort of life issues down there. So maybe that's why he had as many penalties and just didn't seem to have the same focus. But, you know, if this was any other team, if this were any other team, I think we'd be having some serious questions about what the hell they're doing, because this seems to be a complete and total flip on the decision they made early in the offseason about what they were going to do with their offensive line. So with all that being said, I do think that Kansas City deserves some leeway, right, in terms of how they develop their offensive line, just like how, you know, New England deserves some leeway in how they develop their corners, or, you know, pick different teams just have really different niches that they're really great at developing. And so, you know, whatever they make decisions, certain coaching staff just have really good abilities to work with, you know, certain positions. And Kansas City in the offensive line seems to be one of those positions. So I'm not going to panic or freak out, but I think if we're looking at this objectively, this is a really weird flip. And I think this is the first time in the Veach era where, you know, there was a plan, and, you know, right after the draft, you seem to flip on that plan and go out and attack the free agency market again.
Well, here's the thing. What if it really, I mean, they never really said it was set in stone that he was playing left tackle. They just said they were going to try him out at left tackle because he was versatile. I think everybody kind of read into that a little too deeply. One thing I know is that they didn't get who they wanted in the draft for a left tackle. So they did the next best thing. And I think it's not a bad thing. Look, man, this kid, Taylor, is very, very, very versatile. And he can play pretty much any position on the offensive line. So what is better for you to sign somebody now that can take Joe Thuney's spot in a heartbeat next year, or wait until next year and hope you get somebody that can take his spot?
You want to have someone in your system for a little bit of time.
Exactly.
And that's kind of
what their plan was.
Yeah.
Yeah.
They want someone in there for a little bit of time instead of just going out there to the wolves.
You're learning Mahomes. You're learning everything, right, Caleb? I mean, that's just kind of how it works.
Mm-hmm.
He's a different quarterback, man. You gotta know what you look. I mean, we all thought OBJ was going to work out for him, you know, and honestly, Wiley as well. But when you look at it, Mahomes saved his ass more than they saved his ass. So now they got people in there that are going to allow Mahomes to play the game the way he wants to play the game and move forward. And that's just really how it's going to be. I'm not complaining about it. Which, let's go into this will segue into a good thing. A lot of rumors going around on Facebook and Twitter about Mahomes
here we go.
getting restructured.
I still have some more. We can talk about this, but I have some other points that I want to make.
Oh, well, go ahead. Bring them up. Let's do that, and then we'll do that.
Okay. I think this sort of ends the Darian Kennard, Lucas Niang experiment to be a starting tackle. If you're moving Jawan Taylor to right tackle, he's your right tackle. Jawan Taylor's not there's not going to be, I thought heading into camp, there's going to be this huge, you know, debate as to, okay, where's Jawan playing? Is he playing left tackle? Okay, what does that mean for your right tackle? Is Lucas Niang going to be the guy? Is Darian Kennard going to be that guy? I think all of that has ended even before camp started. Unless something egregious happens, you don't sign specifically Jawan Taylor to come in and, you know, if he's not your left tackle, he's guaranteed your right tackle spot. We see what, you know, the contract speaks a lot about what they think of him, right? Kansas City in this salary cap era, and, you know, when you don't have to pay the we're bad tax like Jacksonville had to a few years ago, or Cleveland's had to in the past, you don't do that, you know, you just don't do that in Kansas City. So Taylor's your starting right tackle, and Lucas Niang, I don't think sees the field barring injury this year. And I was wrong on that, because I thought, you know, Lucas had a chance to fight for that right tackle spot.
No, I agree with you. I think with all the issues with injuries, I think that's come into play. I mean, Kennard's only been in with the team for 1 year. And JP and I were talking. I mean, it sounded like it took him a little bit to kind of understand things. And also, we see the Chiefs are just not going to throw him out there, just throw him out there. So I have a feeling with Kennard, let's see what he can do. Now, on Lucas Niang, that's a little interesting because he took the COVID year off. I think he was coming off a back injury, and he really hasn't produced much. Now, when he has played, he's done well, but he's had injuries. So it's going to be one of those things to see. Are the Chiefs just keep him around as a depth piece? Is he going to be cut eventually? So, I mean, there's a lot of different moving parts there as a whole.
Well, I'm going to give Tommy the Taco Bell ding because he's right on that. And by the way, Tommy, I apologize. We're going to do Thursday show. Anyway, he's right. That's who they were targeting. It didn't work out. So I think they did the right thing. I think they did what they should have done. I'm not going to complain about it. I agree with you, Quentin. I mean, for the most part, I think that there's still going to be a little bit of a battle as far as who's going to be second up in rotational, in my opinion.
Yeah, you're right there. I do think that, now we're in a position of who's the 2 and who's the 3.
Exactly. And I think that's where your battle is going to see where you're going to see your battles at right there. Now, let's look, man. Let's not discount the fact that Donovan may not work out. Okay? I mean, it may not happen. I'm not saying he's a bad player. Look, he's had some issues last year. Most of it was injury. He had some personal issues that he had to deal with that I'm not going to get into. But it's just the fact that people they go through things, and when they do it, or when they do, they have a downtime, whether it be football, baseball, working at McDonald's. If you have a downtime, you have downtime. If there's something going on in your life and it messes with you, it's going to happen, and you may not play up to par, so I would, everybody on Twitter and other social media apps are blasting this whole thing, saying that he's a mid player and all this other stuff. How do you know? How do you know what he is? He's not been in this system. Who cares what he did last year? Who cares what he did the year before? He wasn't with our coaching staff. We've seen this time and time again. Every player that we bring in from another team that has had issues has thrived for the most part, thrived in ours. Tony, we can go on and on and on, but I'm not going to. We have a different team.
Exactly.
We have a different coaching staff. We have a different culture. With the Bucs, it was all about Brady, what he wanted, how he treated people. I don't know how to express how different we are compared to every other football team.
It's a team effort. It's not about just one individual or two. It's a team. There's
Absolutely.
no I in team, and that's what you see what happens. If there's an I in team, then you're going to be one of the first get knocked out of the playoffs. It's a team effort. That's what the Chiefs have done in this whole Mahomes area because it's built this. You have a strong foundation. They're building the house on a rock, not on the sand where it's going to see building the house, the foundation on a rock. And because they're doing that, over time we're going to see they're just getting better and better and better and better as time goes on. And that's a great culture because you're going to bring in veterans like a Donovan Smith who may struggle at one place, but could come to Kansas City and do the right thing. They can bring in these guys that are undrafted free agents that not people are talking about. It could possibly have your running back 2 or 3 for the future. So it's all about building that foundation and making sure you can build that up over time. And if you can do that, you're going to be in a great position. And when you build your team in a great position, that's the reason why the Chiefs are in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl every year, because of the time and effort they put into everything. They're just not working in the season. They're working the off season. There's Pat Camp. There's probably going to be Pat Camp probably the next month or 2. All these guys are getting together. There's teammates. There's camaraderie. When you have all those things together, it creates a great, successful organization. Guys who want to be there, who are ready to work. Now you can make the argument some of the people who are not here now took stuff for granted possibly, did not do all they could do. But regardless, that's neither here nor there. You have to work with what you have now.
Yeah.
And you can get a whole other thing with that. But it's what you have to do now. The Chiefs have there's a reason why they're successful. And one of the reasons why is that Andy Reid has done. He's a player coach. If you're getting upset because he's saying you can't do something, Andy Reid, I believe, my opinion, is pretty lenient. He's going to let you have some freedom, but he's going to let you know what you have to do. So all these rumors that come out every once in a while, well, Andy Reid didn't let me do this or he didn't let me do that. There's always, I believe personally, I don't know how you guys feel, there's always more to the story. Because what it seemed like, if you cannot get along with Andy Reid, you can't get like anyone. There's only one player who didn't like Andy Reid, and it was said that Andy Reid almost got into an altercation with the guy. Everyone else loves Andy. And again, building your house on the rock, your foundation has led this team to either be in the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl for the last 5 seasons. We're approaching levels of the Patriots are at. And there's no that year in between where they're really sucking. They're at least going to the AFC Championship game or the Super Bowl.
Yeah, and honestly, I don't remember the Patriots doing that the first 5 years.
They were like in and out. They had like that stretch
Yeah.
3 in a row, but they were kind of in and out. And then you could basically break down Brady's career into 2 or 3 different segments, if you will. The beginning years they won a little bit. Then there was like a 10-year period, they only like 1 or 2, but they were kind of there. What we have now is Mahomes and them are shattering that. But it is what it is. The Chiefs will continue to do what they're supposed to do. Quentin, what do you think?
Well, I was looking at Tommy's last comment there, and I don't know if I agree with that or not. If you want to put that up there, he says that, on paper, we're better at both tackle positions. I don't know if Donovan Smith is better than Brown. I don't know that. We can say a lot of things, and we said some stuff about Brown on here. Now, I will still stand by the things that I said were justified, but, the one thing you can say about Brown is he was healthy for every game. He was always there. Donovan Smith missed a lot of games last year. Juwan Taylor is obviously a better upgrade of what they had at right tackle last year. The left tackle position is still more important than the right tackle, even though that gap is closing. The left tackle is still more important because it is that blindside spot. So even if you have the same level of talent coming off the left and right side on the defensive ends, the left tackle is going to be more important because Patrick Mahomes is right-handed. So I don't know if you can say this offensive line is better. We're going to have to wait and see. The Donovan Smith, everybody that I have heard from, it seems to be that he's probably an average left tackle when he's healthy. But if he's not, or if he plays down to where he did last year, he was a bottom half right tackle or left tackle. So I just don't know how comfortable I am heading into this season again with our left tackle position. It's interesting that they have Prince as their second left tackle, which is interesting to me.
Extremely high on him, though.
Yeah,
they love him.
One of the things that I can say is this is a very, very deep offensive line. I think at every position, you could honestly make an argument that they should be a tackle.
What happened? Something run under your leg?
Oh, okay. There we go. Now my monitor just went blank.
Oh.
I think you can honestly make an argument that every single spot on this offensive line is a starter somewhere else. I'll say that this is a very deep room all across the offensive line. So we've got that going for us. But yeah, this Donovan Smith thing, I don't know exactly how I feel about it. Like I said, if this was a move that the Houston Texans made or the Cleveland Browns or the Raiders, we would be legitimately asking what their guys do, what their GM is doing, because it just seems to be a flip on what we were talking about 2, 3, 4 weeks ago.
Well, I think, again, when you evaluate players in off-season workouts, you make decisions fairly quickly. And Andy's really good at reading players. So if he decided that that's what he wants to do as of right now, that's how it's going to go into training camp. But again, things can change in an instant in training camp. Has it been just 1 year of injuries, or has he had a whole career? No, he hadn't had a whole career of injuries. He had 2021, he had a slight injury. 2022, he was injured. I can't remember if he broke his hand. I don't remember what it was.
He had 2 injuries. He had a hand and an elbow injury.
Yeah,
but
elbow
other than
injury.
that, he's been. I'll give him. He's been a rock star in terms of starting. Right, he started 16 games for his first 4 years and then 15 games in 19 and 20, 17 games in 21, and 13 games last year. So
yeah.
The guy has been dependable in terms of getting on the field. But when your previous year is the last year that you've had 2 injuries and you're going to a new team, that worries me. I do think it's fair to say that, I do think that he'll be able to play, but, it probably is just an off year for him. But, when you're heading into free agency, the contract year is undefeated, and you sign for a team, especially this late, right? There was a reason why he wasn't signed in the first few weeks of free agency. There was a reason why the Buccaneers didn't want him back. I think part of the reason was they just had salary cap issues, but offensive line there is needed all around the league. It's not just Kansas City. There are a ton of teams with way more cap space than Kansas City that needed a tackle, and he was signed this late into free agency. So there's a reason why he was turned off from other teams. I just think that, we need to be aware that there's going to be a lot of pressure on him because fans post that Super Bowl and all of the conversation about OBJ. Kansas City Chiefs fans probably pay more attention to their offensive line than other fan bases, and there's a chance that he's going to get a lot of crap from Chiefs fans heading into this year because we're going to be really focusing on him. And I think Taylor is definitely a better all-around tackle. He's more athletic and the bigger contract. So Smith is going to get under a microscope. And if he's struggling for the first couple of weeks, I think fans can turn on him pretty quickly.
Well, and that's true. I mean, fans can turn on anybody. I mean, they turn on everybody. They turned on Veach during the draft. I mean, for Christ's sake, they turn on everybody. So that's not even – I mean, I don't think anybody really takes much none of these players really take that to heart anymore. Even Andy and Veach, just like whatever. I mean, when you guys start writing checks, then, we'll talk about it. And if you can get us to a Super Bowl, we'll talk about it. But I think they know what they're doing, and I'm not really concerned with it right now. And again, things can change in a heartbeat. So it's not a huge issue for me with what they've made a decision to do right now. Again, it's just we're not even to really OTAs or anything else yet. So
we'll know more then. OTAs, either they're voluntary or not. We'll learn what's going to happen, and
then training camp will tell you pretty much everything you need to know. So I'm not really concerned with it at all at this point. But anybody got anything else on this?
Not on the offensive line. There was some more stuff that came out of a rookie minicamp over the weekend / last week. Like it was reported that Isaiah Pacheco had a torn labrum and a broken hand in the Super Bowl.
He's a warrior.
And he carried the ball 15 times, had 76 yards and a touchdown, despite having, a torn labrum. That's a shoulder injury. And obviously a broken hand. I don't know which hand it was or which shoulder it was. I don't know if it was carrying hand or, if it was the hand he was stiff-arming. I don't remember him getting, stepped on or anything, but...
Yeah, I don't...
No, there was a game. I don't remember. It was towards the end of the season, and it may have even been in the playoffs, where he left the field and then came back. And I want to think...
Interesting.
I think that was when it happened. I was a little nervous when it came out because I was hoping, oh, God... I mean, this is going to be one of those things where, the Chiefs didn't report it, and then it's going to be an issue. But
they can't take one Super Bowl, so
no. But they can find
us. I don't care. Yeah. They can find. We'll just pay the money.
Yeah, but Tommy's right. He is the new version of the beast mode. I mean, this dude, he's unbreakable. I mean, honestly, if you can play through those two injuries and put up the numbers that he put up, that's insane. I'm sorry, but that's just – and plus the fact that he ran so hard. You would have never known he was injured in that Super Bowl.
No, that's why when I saw this report, I was like, what? No, I thought it was a typo of wrong name, wrong team.
Exactly.
I do think he's probably going to miss a lot of the OTAs coming up here, which is fine for him.
He had surgery right after, so.
Yeah, he had surgery, but, Andy Reid wouldn't give a timeline out, so – There's not a ton of information. I think it's fair to say that he probably misses OTAs because why would you risk it? He's your number one running back. He probably doesn't need a ton of these snaps heading into the offseason. To me, that's interesting because I'd like to see the snap split between Allaire, McKinnon, and some of the undrafted free agents like Dendrick Prince. I'd like to see him because I kind of want to see Prince make this team. So, depending on how they split snaps will be interesting for me, especially because I don't know if you give McKinnon a ton of the snaps because what McKinnon has. Same with Allaire. I'm just not sure how many snaps you give to those guys when you have a couple of undrafted free agents, that'll be vying for those spots. So I just couldn't believe it when that report came out. I was blown away that this dude played in the Super Bowl, had 15 carries and, pass blocking sets with a broken hand and a torn labrum. And I've had shoulder surgery before because I fucked up my shoulder. You feel that constantly. It's not something that just goes away.
Oh, absolutely. It hurts so bad. I mean, I've had a lot of shoulder injuries and they hurt. I don't know what else to say. They're terrible. And for him to play through that is absolutely phenomenal to me. I'm blown away. In fact, it was so surprising because nobody knew anything about it. Not one person said anything. And Caleb knows who I talk to on a daily basis, and they never said anything. And I was like, holy shit. I mean, this came out of nowhere. And then I called and I said, hey, was this real? And he said, yeah. Fuck. Why? And then he was the one that said, yeah, I hope it doesn't get us in some shit. And I was thinking, yeah, me too. But
do they have to report every injury? Because Tom Brady, when he won the Super Bowl, had a torn meniscus, and he was on the report.
I think he got fined for that. I think the Bucs got fined for it because Brady actually mentioned it to him, and I think that might be the difference. Is Pacheco didn't say anything, and that's what it was kind of alluded to me that he really didn't say anything, that he felt like anything was broken or torn.
They probably just, he said, it was bothering me, shoot me up, and that's probably what happened. I mean, there's a lot, like what we see, and this is one thing I was noticing. A lot of players, when they're on the injury report, there's one or two things, but sometimes you're doing 3 or 4. Prime example, I forgot who it was, but there was one player a while back who was playing. I think it was Martellus Bennett, and he had like something wrong with his hamstring, torn hamstring, but he was dealing with a shoulder, a left shoulder injury, a finger injury, a knee, and they only reported one thing. So, I mean, it's kind of a gray area a little bit when you look at this as a whole. So,
yeah. Philip said print with the speed.
okay.
Yeah. I was pretty amazed by it. I mean, I was pretty excited that he it's just like, I don't know if it's
well, looks like he's lagging out. It's okay. Quentin, what do you think of the new running back that Chiefs brought on?
I mean, I think, look, this running back room, I mean, the room for one guy. I like I said, I still would like to see Denrick Prince on this team. I think that he, probably is the more talented guy. He's an undrafted free agent, but we've seen guys like that make the roster before. So I think this running back room will be, better no matter who they bring on, but I'm definitely cheering for Prince when it comes to them. There was another injury reported from Kansas City over last week. Felix was wearing a wrap on his hand because he reportedly got an injury on the last play of the Sugar Bowl. So I'm not worried about this one either, because if it was that bad, he wouldn't have been a first-round pick.
Yeah, and it wasn't anything major at all. I do know.
So he had surgery on his thumb, but I'm not worried about it, because if it really was that bad, then he wouldn't have been picked in the first round. This is probably just more of if he was a normal person, he wouldn't have had the surgery, but because he was a professional athlete and, you're in the NFL, just get it done and over with so you don't have any lingering effects. But I'm not, his doesn't worry me either, just because if it was really that bad, he wouldn't have been a first round pick.
Yeah, I agree. I mean, and from what I heard, it wasn't anything major anyway. I want to say it was just it was either a torn tendon or maybe I think that's what I was told, a torn tendon, but nothing, or a stretched tendon, I should say. Brad said today, Jalen Watson say something about his broken hand in the Jags game. He actually did, but they wrapped it and moved on. If I'm not mistaken, they just wrapped it up and moved on. So
didn't stop from interceptions in the back-to-back weeks.
Yep, exactly. So Tommy said, "Get us some Chiefs flags some Chiefs focus flags to hang on the wall." Yeah, we're in the works for that right now. As a matter of fact, Tommy. He said, "Bring Frank back." That's going to be on our next in another segment here in just a little bit. But what else you got, Quentin? Because I got to get into this Mahomes stuff before I'm.
Yeah. Let's roll into this Mahomes stuff. Those were the big updates over the last few days. Just stuff that happened over the weekend, and my thoughts on that tackle, because it happened, and last week, but I didn't have a lot of time to really process it, and those were some of my thoughts coming into this week.
Yeah. Okay. So, Mahomes. All the chatter out there about Mahomes getting restructured. It was a big deal. Blah 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 blah. Then it was reported on Twitter today that the Chiefs were in the process of restructuring Mahomes' contract, and it was supposed to be done before the season begins. I don't know who came up with that. Somebody named Chiefs Kingdom on Twitter. Don't know who you are, but they've talked about it. I'm going to just say it. If it happens, it happens. I can tell you now, I got 3 texts in my phone that says it probably won't happen this year. If it does, it's going to be strange. But directly from Veach's mouth, it's not something that is on their mind right now. It's not a priority. And it's not even, and I'm going to tell you exactly what Mahomes said so you guys understand. This is exactly what he said. I make enough money. I don't care about my contract. That's the least of my worries. Those are his words. He does not care about being the 7th highest paid player in the NFL. Look, he knows just as well as everybody else does. His endorsements make him more money than these fictional $30 million or $60 million a year contracts that these guys will never see. So for everybody out there that's flipping out about Mahomes being restructured right now, it may not even happen. Have they had the conversation? Of course. Who brought it up? Veach. It was not brought up by Mahomes. He does not give a shit about his contract. I'm just telling you now, so get off of the worry boat about all of that stuff. It means nothing. He was very, very emphatic about the fact that he doesn't care. And that is the one thing.
He wants to win.
He does. He is not the me first guy.
No, he's the team first.
Yes.
When you look at all these guys, it's been like me, or I.
Yeah.
He's about the team.
And
that's what's important. If you want to win Super Bowls and continue to make it to the AFC Championship game with the Super Bowl, you got to put yourself down a little bit. And yeah, if he's not the top highest paid quarterback, great. But what's happening is guys like Herbert, who hasn't really proved on level, are getting those numbers. Or Burrow. And that's putting those teams in a terrible position. And Mahomes like, you know what? I'll take this. I'm good. We can work some things around. I mean, they have that contract. We can move around different parts, signing bonuses, different things. It's all going to work out. He's getting his money.
It's funny. He said, I make enough money. That's the part that got me the most. He said, I make enough money.
I mean, how much is it guaranteed?
$175 million.
It has rolling guarantees. So, and his, unlike, some of the Ezekiel Elliott contract screwed the Cowboys over because it was guaranteed the next year, right, a year in advance. So that's why it was so difficult for them to cut him, because they would have to pay him the guaranteed money for this year and the following year, which is why they had to wait to cut him so long until those rolling guarantees stopped. Patrick Mahomes guarantees rollover for 2 years in advance.
Interesting.
So he is essentially uncuttable because of how much his contract is guaranteed. Yeah, his contract isn't fully guaranteed like Deshaun Watson's, but he's essentially fully guaranteed because the dead cap money would kill this contract, would kill the Chiefs if for some reason he ended up getting cut. It's nearly impossible for Kansas City to get rid of him if they were just straight up cut him. It's not going to happen. Excluding skill level aside, just the money, the dead cap money you would endure by cutting Patrick Mahomes, the rollover guarantees would be such a pain in the ass to deal with. So, yeah, we talk about how, players want to get their guaranteed money. Patrick Mahomes' contract is essentially fully guaranteed because of the mechanisms inside that contract.
Yeah, and here's the thing. When I say he's got what he is guaranteed out of his entire contract, if it was to end today, is $175 million. That's what he's handed, right? That's what he can will be handed. Now, again, it is a rolling guarantee, but that doesn't mean that $175 million changes. It's still $175 million. It's just the way his money is structured and the way this contract was structured. He's basically is a fully guaranteed player because of the way it's structured. But if it ended today, they would have to give him $175 million over probably a 3-year period. But I love the fact, and what Tommy said is absolutely true. And I like this. He said, where's it at? He said, the man has generational wealth. Also, Mahomes saying that should scare the hell out of the NFL. Absolutely. Think about it like this. You got Joe Burrow, Josh Allen, Lamar Jackson, Watson, and then maybe Herbert. We don't know yet what his
and Hurts. Yeah, throw Hurts in there.
You got and Hurts. All of those guys are taking up between 20 and 30% of the cap space. And it's not going to get any better. You want to go that route? That's on you.
And Aaron Rodgers now in the AFC.
And Aaron Rodgers. So if you want, and no wait, let's not forget about Dak Prescott, because his contract is monstrous down there for them, especially with his level of play. Because I'm sorry, he's average. They're the ones that are going to suffer in the long run. Next year, Cincinnati is going to pay out the ass. They're going to lose 3 players. There's no doubt in my mind. They have to pay Burrow. They have to pay Chase. When you have to pay those 2 guys what they're going to want, you're losing people.
Open that checkbook. People are leaving.
And I guarantee you, not one of those guys, neither one of those guys are going to go on a structure deal, on a bonus structure deal like Mahomes is, because his deal is 100% bonus structure ready. Every year we can bonus structure his entire contract if we wanted to, and that means Clark Hunt's writing a check out of his pocket.
Well, and that's why that whole 10-year was such a big deal. It wasn't a big deal because. Well, it was a big deal because it's a 10-year contract, right? And it's the NFL. You know, we see 10-year contracts in other sports like baseball all the time. But, you know, in the NFL, you don't see something like that. But on top of that, it was a big deal because it allowed the flexibility, right? We've heard the term flexibility be thrown towards the Mahomes contract, you know, multiple times by multiple people, from Clark Hunt to Patrick Mahomes himself, to Brett Veach. You know, they continue to say it because it's true. Because, you know, let's say there's a free agent that you want to sign and you need just $6 million more in order to get him to get him on your team. Well, I can take some of that money and I can prorate it over the next couple of years. So what that means is, instead of giving him that money now, I can take that money and I can pay him that $6 million this year, but the cap hit of it rolls over the next couple of years. So I can split it out and deal with the money down the road. This is what the Saints have done for damn near every player, which is why they're constantly in salary cap hell, is because they continued to prorate a ton of contracts at once, and they've kicked the money so far down the road that, you know, they're now ending up paying, you know, the bill. So that's something that Kansas City needs to be aware of, right? Every year you can't do this, because you're going to end up in salary cap hell later down the road. We saw that, was it this last offseason, where Kansas City didn't touch any of his money, right? They didn't prorate any of it.
Yep.
So, you know, Kansas City has been strategic, and whether or not that they've kicked that money down the road. But they can do it, and that's the big part, is that the option is there.
Well, here's the thing, though. When you're converting money to bonus structure, it's not kicking it down the road. You're cutting a check that doesn't go against the cap. That's Clark Hunt cutting a check. That's not the team cutting a check. So it's a bonus. It's basically, okay, we're banking that you are going to make your numbers at the beginning of the season. So if we want to cut you a check for $41 million at the beginning of the season, I'll go ahead and write that check out, because it's not even going to touch that cap. And that's exactly why it's done the way it was, because I can tell you now, the original contract was a 5-year deal. It was 5 years, $256 million, and 156 of it was guaranteed. That was the original contract. Veach converted it to a 10-year deal. And let me take that back. Let me go backwards. Veach, Mahomes, and his agent decided on the 10-year deal. So they knew what they were doing. They knew exactly what they were doing. And I'm pleased with what they've done. And see this, and he's right. The orchestrator of the New Orleans cap disaster is in Denver now. It's true. Absolutely true. Absolutely 100% true. This said, I feel like the Bengals players are kind of pressuring him. Maybe. I don't know. But I think what we've done, no one else has been able to do. They tried it. They tried it with Josh Allen. They tried to get Josh Allen to do a bonus structure contract, just like Mahomes to a degree. They couldn't get him to do it. You have to have 2 things in place to do a contract like this. 1, your quarterback has to have faith in the organization. And 2, the organization has to have faith in the quarterback. And there's not another, and you can take all the other 31 teams and take quarterback now, and I promise you, they don't have the faith in the organization. And I can guarantee you, out of all of that, you probably got 28 other teams that don't have faith in the quarterback. It's not going to get done until they can prove themselves that they are a 5-time championship host, whether it be AFC or NFC, or they win a Super Bowl. That's the only way that's going to happen. And we're not going to see that happen with any of the head coaches in this system, any of the GMs in this league, or any of the GMs in this league. And I'm sorry, but none of the quarterbacks in this league. Because right now, Mahomes is leading the pack in every statistic as a quarterback and beat every statistic besides Super Bowl wins. And he's 5 years into it. Wait until he's 10 years into it. And then we'll see where we're at. But I guarantee you, everybody's tried it, dude. They all tried it. Nobody wanted to do that shit. Nobody wanted to do a bonus structure contract, a fully guaranteed bonus structure contract. So it's inevitable that we're going to be in this position for a very long time. We always have that option. Okay, wait, we need $12 million for this guy. Hey, Mahomes, I'm going to give you $12 million in a bonus. Okay. They did it to Travis Kelce last year. They converted $4 million of his money into a bonus structure. They gave it to him at the beginning of the season. You're going to give me $4 million up front? Okay, I'll take that. What did it do? It cleared up $4 million in cap space. Actually, cleared up a little bit more, and he got paid. You're not getting hurt. Nobody. It's a win-win for everybody. It's just how it works out, man. Hey, really quick. I know most of you guys know. Quentin's name says it all. We are sponsored by Manscapes, and Quentin has happy nugs. He told me off air. So
sure.
You guys need to get in on this Manscapes deal. Go on manscapes.com, Brad, and type in She's Focus under the promo code. It's very simple. They have more than just shit for your nugs.
You get some for $5 and get the 20% off, and you get it for like $3.
Yeah. I mean, not only
you don't
that,
have to pay shipping or handling either.
Yeah, all free shipping and handling, and you get entered in for the 4.0 kit that's sitting in front of your screen right now. This is without a doubt. I didn't believe in it. I didn't know about it. Never thought about it. But I can tell you it's awesome. It does a lot of stuff. My balls have never been happier. I'm just telling you now. So if you want to buy a bottle of cologne, if you want to buy something for your beard, if you want to buy shampoo, conditioner, body wash, it makes zero difference. Just go out and buy it. You will not regret it. With that being said, we want to thank Manscapes for sponsoring our shows. Now we can move on. If, for some reason, we see Herbert get a fat contract, I'm going to play the Cowherd situation. That's probably going to be the laughing stock of contracts right now. And he's going to be a laughing stock. And here's the reason why. Everyone knows that the Chargers are a poverty franchise. And when I say that, they're a terrible franchise. They don't treat their players well. Their coach doesn't treat their players well. They do not have a good medical staff. They could care less if somebody breaks their ribs, falls off a cliff. As long as they're breathing, they're on the field. If Herbert signs with them on a long-term deal, he's hurting his career. He's absolutely hurting his career. He's already written off part of it. If he wants to write off the rest of it, that's on him. But he needs to think really long and hard about signing a contract with the Chargers. If I were him, I would request to get the fuck out.
I know we've seen guys like Kirk Cousins do it in the past, but man, it's a gamble. It's a huge gamble to not sign an extension before your rookie contract is up. You know, we've seen the especially when you're a quarterback, you know, you have that opportunity to sign that huge contract with a bunch of guaranteed money 3 years into the league. Man, it would be hard to turn that down because, you know, let's say you do the Kirk Cousins, you know, where you get through your 4 years, right? But then you get franchise tagged. Then you get franchise tagged again because with the way the money is, it makes economic sense for the team to do that. And there's no rule that says you can only franchise a guy twice. You know, it's just nobody's done it a third time yet because it gets so expensive. But if these contracts continue to go up and the cap continues to go up, and Justin Herbert, who is a top 10 quarterback in the NFL, maybe economically wise here in a few years, maybe it will make sense to franchise tag a guy the third time. And in all of that, what you're getting out of the maybe in your late 20s, you're finally able to hit real free agency. I don't know, man. I think it would be rough to turn down that much guaranteed money at once. And like we said with the Lamar Jackson scenario, it was, yeah, he was able to finally get his huge contract, but he missed out on a bunch of money early on. And if he would have signed his original contract that he was offered 3 years ago, he would be most of the way through his second contract.
Yeah.
So he would have been able to sign a new contract at this point, meaning he's left more money on the table. So, man, I know we talk about how for a guy to just, it's a much easier decision for us to say, hey, you shouldn't sign that contract because, you're going to stay with the Chargers. But, man, that's tough. That's real tough.
And I feel like even if he signs a contract, who's to say he can't get a force out? I feel like that's going to happen with Kyler Murray. And once that happens, it's going to be a precedent for any other quarterback. And when we see people be able to do a force out, it'll be better for the league. It sucks for Chargers and their fans and all the things, but I think
4 people.
Well, Quentin, we did see about 30 Chargers fans, so I was very surprised.
30.
I'm being honest. I saw more.
Did you drink?
Browns fans? No.
You didn't. You weren't seeing double.
No.
All right, I was making sure. No, because I'm just saying I've only seen 6 at the stadium at a home game.
No, but what I'm trying to say, no, you're good, man. What I'm trying to say, I think there's going to come to a point where, quarterback's going to sign the deal, but they're going to be able to force a trade or force a way out. It's ultimately going to be better for the brand. I say take your money now. I think once this happens to Kyler Murray, and if this happens, it's going to set a huge precedent. And once that happens, the dominoes are going to fall. If you're not happy, then you're going to force out.
Well, here's what Tommy said.
We can see here with DeAndre Hopkins, if and only if that happens, it's going to be that small domino that does a fall to ultimately get to the very, very big domino. Everything comes crashing down.
Yeah. Well, looking at what Tommy said, he said Herbert will get the contract and it's going to cripple the Chargers for years to come unless they get a really good offensive coach. He's Phillip Rivers Jr. Here's the difference, I think. I agree with what you're saying about crippling the team, but I think it's because they don't know how to get a really good offense and they won't. And I also agree. I think that because they don't really care about their players, it's going to be really hard for them to get a good offense. But I think he's better than Rivers in a lot of ways because he's not a crybaby. He doesn't throw the fits. He doesn't act like a jack off on field. He doesn't kick his feet and stomp and do all the shit that Rivers did every time he missed a pass. I mean, fuck, the guy couldn't even be touched. Oh my God, did you see that? He was held. There was nobody within 20 yards of that player, but he got held.
Me. And
it was always something. So I think Herbert on any other football team, with the exclusion of the Raiders, would be very good. I think he would act. I think he would do as much as this pains me to say. Probably going to hurt Quentin a little bit. He'd do really well with the Denver. I just don't think nobody has done really well with the Chargers since 2004. They've done decent. They've gotten, if you wrap them with every great player there is, they're going to do okay. You can't. It's kind of almost inevitable, but you can't get over that hump because of your organization. I think Herbert could win a Super Bowl with another team. And I feel like I feel like he's going to hamper himself even longer if he signs a big deal. I get the fact that you get your bag now, but again, think about it. He's been in the league. This is going on his 4th year, right? 4th year?
Yeah, he'll be heading into his 4th year because this is
heading
the first
into his
time
4th year now.
He's eligible for a new contract.
Correct. So you're take 4 years out of his deal, out of his career right now. Then factor in the injuries and how many he's already had and how many he's going to suffer under that regime. It's actually shortening his lifespan in the NFL by staying with the Chargers. That's how I feel about the poor kid. And I don't want to see that happen to him because I think he is a good quarterback. And I think he has a lot of
probably the 5th best quarterback in the league.
Absolutely. Absolutely. I mean, I'd almost say 4th. But 5th. I mean, he's very good. He's very smart. He's very humble. And he's learning. Every year he learns. He doesn't take shit for granted. He just continues to learn. And that's something you can't teach. He learned that. I mean, honestly, he reminds me of Mahomes with his mentality. Because he's not a showboater.
He's got
not an
that
arrogant guy.
over my dead body mentality.
Exactly.
And we saw that in game 2 of last season, right? It was that Thursday night game when it was Kansas City, and he hurt his ribs, right? And he left for one play, and he came back in and threw that bomb. That was the totally like, this is, I'm not losing this game for anything.
I agree with you. I think he's a beast, and I think he could be really good with another football team. And Tommy's right; he's probably top 4 in regards to talent. I agree with that because he's played with nothing and done well, and that's something that you got to look at when you're looking at a quarterback as a whole. And when you, like Mahomes did in the playoffs, when you're bringing in a guy that had more tackles than catches in the NFL, and you still win. Come on, man. I mean, that's when you know that you got a talented player. And I think Herbert is that guy. He was, Mike was injured. What's the other one?
Keenan Allen.
Keenan Allen was injured. He had nobody. And he still played his heart out, played to win, did the best he could do. And I give him all the credit in the world for that. You're not – look, besides Mahomes and Herbert, name me one other quarterback that doesn't throw fits. Honestly,
Josh Allen,
actually, Mahomes, he throws. He's a constant.
I misunderstood your question. All right, my bad.
Yeah, no, I mean, honestly, they all throw baby fits. Mahomes has actually gotten more upset than Herbert does, and maybe rightfully so. But he expresses himself more than Herbert does. Herbert's just like rolls with the punches. Fuck it, it happened. It happened. You can't fight it. So let's just keep moving. And that's what I like about that kid. With that, when they threw him to the Wolves against us in his first ever football game in the NFL, I gained every ounce of respect for him that day.
Yeah, he torched us.
Yes, he did.
Now we won, but my guy torched us.
Yes, he did. And I give him all the respect in the world because, man, you just don't come in at 23 years old and play against a team like us and play that well. I'm sorry, but I don't know. I like the way his mindset is. So
I do have. Go ahead, Quinn.
I was gonna pin it up. I was gonna say I believe you have our next topic.
Yeah. Yes, so this time before we leave, I just kind of had a topic for you. I kind of heard this a little bit on the radio. You got the 3 teams you have that are quote unquote the enemies against Kansas City. Those are the Bills, the Bengals, and I would throw the Jaguars in there. Out of those 3 teams, what team do we expect for their stock to rise? What team do we expect their stock to fall? And what team do we expect them to be like, they're going to stay the same? So we got those 3 different teams. What are your guys' thoughts? Which one do you think is going to rise? Which one are going to drop? Which ones are going to stay the same? I'm just kind of curious. I heard this on the radio. I just kind of want to hear your guys' thoughts, and I'll jump there. So let's go and start this. What team do you guys think is going to have a huge jump?
What 3 I'm sorry, I was answering Tommy back. What 3 did you say?
Bengals, Bills, and I'm throwing in the Jaguars. I think they are on the rise, my opinion, personally.
Okay.
I'm not throwing in the Chargers yet.
Yeah, I would say Bengals staying the same, Jags on the rise, and then I think the Bills are probably going to fall off.
Okay.
But I don't see how you could think the Bengals got any worse during the offseason. I think they did actually improve their offensive line this year. They're going to sign their quarterback to a long-term extension and, not hurt their salary cap for this upcoming season. And I don't see why there's a reason why you could say that their team got worse. The Jaguars,
they lost their best running back.
Yeah.
Sorry, I had to spit that out.
P. Ryan's going to be there, and I think there's an argument to say that P. Ryan played better towards the
end
of
the year. No, I was joking, Quentin. Yeah,
so,
I was joking.
Okay. The Jaguars, I think that I think their offensive line. I think you could maybe make the argument that it got worse since we got Taylor over here, but I think it's probably with some of the draft selections they got, it's probably this, the same. I think another year with Peterson that their quarterback's going to be better, and they've got a lot of young guys on there. So I think anybody that watched them play as the year went on, I think it's absolutely fair to say that they just got better. And I think that they're the kind of team that they're going to get a lot of national games this next year. I do think that. So they're on the rise. And what the hell has Buffalo done to make
That's a great
me think that
question.
they've got better?
I'll tell you. I can tell you. I can tell you what it is.
Their defense continues to get older. You know, they got a great pass catcher, or what we think is a great pass catcher with the tight end selection in the first round. But I mean, their defense has been part of the staple of that team, and I just don't know how I can stand here and honestly tell you, man, they got better. They just continue to get older. You know, they lost one of their safeties. I just don't think that you can say that. So, you know, when we talked about the Bills over the last few years, we talked like, yeah, here's Josh Allen, but we're like, man, that defense is good. And I just don't see how, when you have a strength of that team has been a defense, it definitely didn't get better. So they're going to fall down. And that's right. Brad's right. That division got harder with Aaron Rodgers. The Dolphins and the Patriots are still there. You can't roll over the Patriots. I don't care who they have at quarterback or whatever. You're not going to roll over a Bill Belichick defense.
I agree. I think I'll say it again. Don't be surprised if the Jags aren't in the AFC Championship game. I'm just saying. I wouldn't put it past them this year. I think they're going to go leaps and bounds better than they were last year, and they were already pretty good last year, especially towards that end. That
and they're
phenomenal.
And they're in a weak division too. They're in the AFC South. There ain't nobody in that division to challenge them for that.
Nope.
No, now you have to play the teams outside their division, and I think they're going to be a force this year. Don't put anything past those guys. I would say the Bills are probably going to be the biggest drop off, and I'll tell you why they're having so many issues. My guy in Buffalo, and I think I said this on another show, flat out said that the team has lost faith in their coach, and they've also lost faith in Josh Allen. And when you lose faith in both as a group of 53, or say 50, 52, I guess Allen probably didn't lose faith in himself yet, then there's a problem. And I think it's absolutely true. I know it is, because this guy's extremely close to pretty much every player on that team, and they've lost faith. And when you lose faith like that, you might as well just hang that shit up. And I think that's where they're at.
And I think, and this is a great point Tommy put on third from the bottom. Did Buffalo pick up a running back in the draft? No. I don't think they did. It's just, I understand what they're trying to do, but we're seeing, and I believe this, if the Buffalo Bills have another lackluster season where they think they're right there and then they get their heart get snatched out of them, I believe, and JP will put this on there, I think McDermott could possibly revive. There's going to be some issues and some turmoil.
Absolutely.
I mean, I think they're at the point like, yeah, they have all these great guys, but it's not molding together. And I would understand. I think, thank you. I appreciate it. I think one thing what we see as a whole, as the Bills have, I would give them credit. I was a Josh Allen fan when they were little guys on the block going against Tom Brady, and I was rooting for them to knock them off. We're at the point where they're basically kind of at the ceiling, and they need something to really like take that hammer, what they need to do to bust through that ceiling so they can get on that next level. But I think with the moves they've done in the draft and also the moves they've done in free agency has really hindered them. And plus that attitude they have in the locker room, they're the best. Okay, you can have the week 4, week 5 championship win against the Chiefs. Take that all day. You know what? Because what matters to me at the end of the day is when the Chiefs ends up beating you in the playoffs, in divisional round.
Or you lose first round and you don't get to see the Chiefs.
Or the Bengals end up slapping you in the divisional round. 13 seconds, or all these different things. So if we play the Bills, and I told Chiefs fans, if we lose, that's fine, because every single week with these teams like the Bills, the Bengals, the Jaguars are going, even the Texans are going to give you their Herculean effort. And because when it comes to the Bills, they've given their effort and they're at that ceiling week 4. And that's why we've seen them fall. And they haven't like gotten the quote unquote hammer or to bust through that. So over time, we're seeing is like, yeah, they're having great leaps and they're having great drops. And ultimately, what we're I believe is that if they have another year that's not good, you're going to see some guys leave. They made some questionable moves. Like Von Miller, I understand they want to give him all the money, but what has that really gotten them?
I don't understand why they gave him all that money. He's 33 years old.
They gave him a 6-year deal, basically a 3-year deal, gave him all that money. They have not improved their positions. They have not gone and got a running back. Trade
Hey,
for Derrick Henry. Do something. But you guys just have really just sat there.
if Von
Yeah,
Miller
I
hadn't blown his knee out, that would have been. I mean, he was on a. He started having a fantastic year, and
I
he
still think the
blows.
Chiefs would have stopped him. I still think.
I mean, he won the game for them.
Yeah,
He did.
He
So
did.
Again, you're still talking about a guy that they paid $160 million to that's 33 years old.
Yeah, I know, but we've seen that pass rushers can last, later into their career. Especially, I think part of the problem was they were just playing him too much.
Yeah, the guy greedy.
There was. I think that the goal was just to have him as a rotational piece, but they saw how good he was early in the year, and they just couldn't justify in their heads partially playing this amazing chess piece, and they played him too much, and he blew his knee out. Now maybe he was bound to blow his knee out anyways. Maybe that's just what was going to happen. Maybe that was just what was in the cards for that year. But I don't even know if he comes back to the same player he was, because part of his benefit is his explosiveness. And, if he blows his knee out when he's 22, maybe you can talk about him coming back and being the same explosive guy. We've seen that, over and over again. Young guys can return from injuries, especially when they're in an NFL system where they have some of the best medical advice that they can get, and to come back from that. Same with Tommy John surgery in pitchers, right? In your young 20s, you can come back from that. And, it used to be a death sentence for guys. It's no longer that. But when you start to get to your 30s, you blow out your tendons, and, man, they just don't seem to come back the same way. So I just don't know if you can expect him to be that same explosive guy. He'll have the hand moves, he'll have the knowledge, but I don't know if he'll be as effective heading into this season. And that's an expensive contract. You're right.
It's too much money. Look, I would if
This
Vaughn
seems like, in my opinion, reckless spending.
Well, if he wouldn't hurt the year before,
Mm-hmm.
and I mean he was injured pretty much the entire season. If he wasn't at 33 years old and injured the year prior, I don't know that I would have worried so much about that contract. But he had, I want to say, 3 seasons where he had some type of an injury almost back to back to back. Then you go and give him that kind of money. That's just, it's reckless. Like Caleb said, it's absolutely
this is why
reckless.
I'm not scared of Von Miller. Yeah, you can have that Week 6 championship. But what I've seen Mahomes do and escape Von Miller, I know he can do it again. They're going to game plan. So I do agree with you, Quinn, that it is a little scary, but I do feel like as a whole, they would be able to figure that out. I mean, for goodness sake, the guy in his first year as a starter had a left-handed pass when Von Miller almost got him. And yeah, Von Miller's going to get his, but I think at the end of the day, Chiefs are going to kind of figure out what is the best way to game plan and stop against him, too.
Yeah.
Because he's been very ineffective. I would say with the Bills, they put him in a fairly good position compared to what he was with the Broncos.
Yeah, I mean, Von Miller is a future Hall of Famer.
Absolutely.
He's one of the best pass rushers in my lifetime. The guy was able to play in Denver for all those years while having asthma.
Just remember, he modeled his entire game after one player. He wore a number because of one player. And he played similar to that one player. He didn't get to his exact stature as far as his technique, but he came damn close. And I prayed that we would somehow end up with him on our team in his earlier days. I always wanted him on our team. But again, 33, coming off injuries, don't know. I just don't see the upside in any way. And they did use him too much. They saw that he was playing well. They figured, fuck, he can play every snap. Man, you don't do that to a guy. I mean, just because Dunlap played very well in his position doesn't mean you can put him in every snap, even though he thought he could play more. And I think he probably could have played more than, 30% of the snaps that he played, 35, whatever it was. But, again, you want those guys in the playoffs. You want those guys later on down the run that can get you what you need. And that's what they did. The Chiefs played it smart. Was it frustrating for him? Yes, it was. He made that very clear, that it was frustrating. He made it clear, after the Super Bowl, that he could have played a lot more. He was 100%. He may think that because he feels like he's 100%, but he doesn't see the inside of his body. He doesn't know what's going on in there. And it just takes one hit at 34, 35 years old. It just takes one hit.
Yeah.
So Von Miller is the definition of cat-like quickness.
And he's
absolutely.
It's that quickness. It's the bend. Yeah. So what Brad is referring to here, Kansas City, the official Kansas City Chiefs Twitter just tweeted out, "Get ready, y'all! Big news dropping tomorrow, bright and early."
Yeah, I see that. I wonder what that is.
I think it ties in with the Kelsey podcast as Reed's on there. So they're probably saying the week 1 game.
Probably.
That's the only thing I can think of.
Well, Donna Kelsey leaked that today too, that the week 2 game is the Eagles.
Oh.
So
okay. Well,
and I don't know if she should have done that today, but she did. So
I think tomorrow's Wednesday. So tomorrow they're doing the international games, and then Thursday some of the rest of the stuff is coming back. So
it might be that.
The rest
then.
of the stuff is coming out.
Yeah, it might just be them talking about that, and it could be Frank is back. I mean, I know. Look here, I wanted to bring this up really quick because that was something that was going around on Twitter today too. And Chris Jones. I mean, I heard it. We talked about this before the draft, but they do want to bring Frank back. There's no doubt. Are they going to do it? Most likely. Is it going to happen right now? Probably. It could. I'm going to say probably not at this point, but it could. I feel like, as much as I don't want to be wrong on this, but I feel like he could be one of those guys that is signed right at training camp. That's what I feel like. But
I can see that.
Yeah, it may happen sooner. But again, he's been courted by Thornhill and the Browns. He was courted by Seattle, and he turned both of them down. He wants to come back and play with Kansas City. I want him to come back.
I'll just say this. Kansas City's adding a veteran pass rusher before the start of training camp or like the day of training camp. Like they did with Carlos Dunlap. That's going to happen. I can't tell you who it's going to be. I could see Frank Clark. Robert Quinn is still out there. Carlos Dunlap is still out there, right? There's a couple of names and guys that are out there. It just makes too much sense for Kansas City to add one more guy. I think they just want to see what they have with some of these undrafted free agents and what they have in the room before they go out and sign anybody. Plus, the longer you wait, in theory, the less you have to spend on them. So another pass rusher is getting added to this team. I can pretty much guarantee you that.
Well, okay, Brad, I will tell you this. I don't think Pennell's coming back. I'm just going to say this. I think I don't want to say washed. I want to say he's tired. I'm going to
Past his prime.
Yes, I think he's just tired. And I don't see him coming back over anyone else. I 100% believe it's going to be Frank Clark, just from what I've heard and what we've talked about in the past and what I've heard, but I do believe it's going to be Frank. If they bring Dunlap back, it's going to be on a cheap deal as a rotational piece, which I don't doubt that they do. They could absolutely bring both of them back and really not affect them in any way. Frank wants his playoff sack record. He wants to do it with Kansas City. He knows the only opportunity he's probably going to have is in Kansas City. So why wouldn't he come back? Dunlap would love to get another ring. At 36 years old, to come in and look, man, the guy batted down a pass in 16 of 17 games last year. I checked it out. So I would say, yeah, bring him back too.
Yeah, Dunlap signed day 2 of training camp. Kansas City got one look at their pass rush room last year, and they were like, we need one more dude.
We need help.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And also remember, and I know somebody brought this up, but why can't I think of his name right now? Melvin Ingram is still on the board too. He's out there as well. I don't think Kansas City will bring him back, but I know he's out there. I just wanted to throw that out there. But I still think it's going to be Frank Clark, and it could very well be Dunlap coming back as well. They need veteran presence. They need the depth, and they need their play. People can say what there was a big argument on Twitter in one of the group chats today about Frank Clark's, again, with this whole shit with Frank Clark's contract being bad. I'm going to say this for the last time on this show. There was nothing wrong with Frank Clark's contract. You people need to realize that contract was fair market value for a top 3 to 5 edge rusher at the time, which he was. So for what he got and what he produced for us, regardless if you think he needed to get 15 or 20 sacks a year, He produced very well for us, and he showed up in every playoff game, and he helped us win a Super Bowl, 2 Super Bowls.
It also makes it more difficult to sign a guy when you traded first-round picks for him. That inherently gives leverage to the player, so you're going to pay more than what you probably would have. It's like signing a guy in free agency, right? A lot of times you're going to overpay for a guy because you're trying to outbid other teams. This case, it was you sent 2 first-round picks to Seattle, so
and you paid him fair market value.
You have to spend a little bit more money to give him that contract. So.
Yeah, but if you look at the contracts that were out there for the top 3 to 5 edge rushers in the league, they were all comparable.
Yeah, I just think that people would argue that he wasn't a top 3 to 5 edge rusher.
He was ranked 1. I mean, he played very well in Seattle, and he was ranked right up there with the best. So, I mean, he had his issue. I can't say issues. He had his illness, and he still deals with that illness. And he did have a little bit of off-field issues, nothing major. He didn't go out and kill anybody, didn't stab anybody. He didn't do anything stupid while he was here anyway. He got caught with a gun. So what? But, I mean, shit, if they pull me over, they're going to catch me with a gun. So what it is what it is. I have a license. I don't go to California with it. Pretty simple. But it is, people have their things. He went through a little bit of depression, but he had the best year that he's had in 4 years last season. He had a great year. What people don't realize is it doesn't mean because you don't have 10, 12 sacks, it doesn't mean you're not doing your job. He kept that side clean. He pushed everybody over to the opposite side so everybody else could take over. That's part of being an edge rusher. He's still one of the fastest off the ball you will find. The guy is quick. Sorry if you don't like it. He's been a great player for us. I want him to come back. I want him to mentor the young guys. I want him to get his freaking playoff sack record in Kansas City. I want to retire Chief. That's what I want to see happen. He deserves it. He's been through hell in his life, and I think he deserves every bit of it. So, and he's a fucking humble guy, dude. People can say what they want about him. He's humble as hell. I mean, when we interviewed him, he was one of the nicest guys in the world, man. He just treated everybody with respect. In fact, he treated us with more respect than he did the news channel and the Kansas City Star and somebody else that is no longer with the Chiefs. They got burnt. We're going to put that picture up on here. That was the best picture ever to watch, to look at the faces of those 2 guys while we were interviewing him for 10 minutes. And then he walked away and said, sorry, I'm out of time. We were the only ones that got to interview him that day. So I love Frank for everything he stands for. He's a blue-collar guy and doesn't realize that he's worth the money he's worth. I think he doesn't take it for granted. And that's what I like about him. So he's a hell of a player too.
That's true. That is true. So
anyway, what do you say you help seal the line?
Yeah,
absolutely, Brad.
Yeah, help with the run game.
Absolutely help with the run game. Nobody wanted to go to that side. I don't think anybody really realizes that, but how many times did you see a running back go to that side in the time he was here? Yeah, he may have not been putting a quarterback on his back, but he sure as hell put a lot of running backs in stump mode. I mean, it was like, oh, shit, there's Frank. Oh, boy, there's Frank. Oh, man, why is he Frank here again? Does this dude ever take time off? There's Frank. That's how they saw him. And if you can produce those type of plays, and he played, 99% of the snaps, you're doing okay.
Yep.
So,
you're in a good spot.
And here's another one, Brad. Exactly. Look what he did to Henry. He made Henry look like a freaking chump. I'm sorry, but he did. I think that was that game that Henry had, 56 yards?
The AFC Championship game, 2019?
Came off of like a 225-yard game and had 56 against us.
Yeah. The attitude. And that's what he's done.
Absolutely. So I don't know, man. I wanted to. I'm glad we got to touch on all these things today because it was kind of an eventful week for Chiefs. Mm-hmm. I know a lot of people are like the clickbait bullshit that's going on out there about Mahomes and everything, and that's all fine and dandy. People need something to talk about. It is what it is. You got the news, the radio guys talking about it. I had a couple. Well, who texted me today asking me about it. News guy by the asking me if it was all smoke or if it was just funny money or whatever. It's not even done. I mean, if it happens at all, it's not going to happen this year, in my opinion. I don't think he's going to extend his contract this year. And the only reason, if this happens at all, is to clear up cap space for the next 3 to 5 years. The only reason why they would extend him right now or restructure him right now is to clear up cap space. And if Veach is doing what he normally does and thinks about the future, then that may be something that happens. But I still don't think it's going to happen this offseason.
Mm-hmm.
Regardless of what people are putting out there. I could be completely wrong. I just don't think it's going to happen. I've asked, and I was told Veach said that was very low on his priority list.
And that's something we can probably even look to the next day or so on the next show's kind of dwelling into that, because I have a feeling with this we're going to hear bits and pieces of information going to come out as a whole. So that's probably something we can look at later.
Yeah. Tommy, you're right. I mean, shutting down the best rusher and leader, yeah, I agree. So anyway, again, we want to thank Man for sponsoring our show. Make sure you guys go on, check it out. Use the 20% off promo code Chiefs Focus. Get yourself something nice. I know Mother's Day is coming up. Get something nice for your wife that she'll enjoy for you. I mean, you're only helping her. I'm just telling you. She may be too nice to tell you that you look like, I'm not going to say it. She may not like the way you groom yourself. Maybe she can't find your shit. I don't know. But do something nice for your wife and clean yourself up. And go to manscaped.com. Clean yourself up. Buy some nice cologne. Again, that cologne was, Caleb, your dad got it, right? Did your dad buy some?
So yeah. It was like, I think like $5-7, and the 20% took it off to like
I was going to ask him because I know he just bought it just to buy it, but I wanted to know because I heard that it smelled like Aqua de Joe. And if it does,
talked with him about it, but they were he was happy when the package came in. So
yeah, that cologne right there has been number one for 25 years. And if it smells anything like that, go out and get some. We'll talk to you guys again actually, we'll talk to you guys again tomorrow on Fantasy Sports Corporation. So if you'd like to join in, day for sure. And we appreciate everybody for joining again. Peace out, everybody.